A reaction to the Washington Redskins dropping their name today?
Yeah, it's a good question. I haven't talked to him since the specific announcement's been made. I have talked to him, but not specifically on that. But last week, his tweet made it clear that these teams name their teams out of strength, not weakness. And he talked about the Washington Redskins and Cleveland Indians looking at changing their names. And he says that he believes that the Native American community would be very angry at this. And he does have polling to back him up. There was a Washington Post poll from a few years ago that 90% of Native Americans say they're not offended by the name. It is reflective of a 2004 poll. And the Washington Post notes that many of these Native Americans voiced admiration for the team name, like Barbara Bruce, who said, "I'm proud of being Native American and of the Redskins. I'm not ashamed of that at all. I like that name." Gabrielle Nez, another 29-year-old from the Navajo community, "I really don't mind it. I like it." And there are several other comments like this in the Washington Post.
Deborah. Thank you, Kaylee. I have a question myself.
Hello and welcome to the Voice of Liberty podcast. My name is Henry Conley. Tonight we're going to talk about football in Washington State. Of course, why are we going to talk about football in Washington State? Well, today, the Washington Redskins finally announced that they are going to be changing the name of their franchise. Now, of course, this has been being talked about for about a week now. The rumor's been out there. FedEx, who holds sponsorship over their stadium and naming rights on their stadium, put out a statement that they were seeking to have the Redskins name changed and removed from the stadium. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard about the Washington Redskins talking about changing the name of their team. In fact, it's been brought up multiple times throughout the franchise's history, especially within recent years. But generally, it receives pushback. Generally, it does not happen. But now we are seeing something different happen. So after 87 years of using the name Redskins and the logo, which is indicative and kind of stereotypical of what a Native American looks like, the Washington Redskins will be looking at changing their name. Now, a statement came out from the Navajo Nation president, Jonathan Nez, saying this: July 13th, 2020 is now a historic day for all indigenous peoples around the world, as the NFL Washington-based team officially announced the retirement of the racist and disparaging Redskins team name and logo. He continued to write, "This change did not come about willingly by the team's owners, but by the mounting pressure and advocacy of indigenous peoples such as Amanda Blackhorse and many other warriors who fought long and hard for this change." The statement continued to say this: "We strongly encourage the NFL Washington organization to rename their team in such a way that honors and respects the first Americans of this country, renaming the team Code Talkers to honor the Navajo Code Talkers and other tribal nations who use their sacred language to help win World War II, would set the team on a path to restoring its reputation and correcting the historical misrepresentation of indigenous peoples." Kind of contradicts what the press secretary said today, where Native Americans and those who are proud to call themselves Redskins would be mad and upset at this name change. It goes against the narrative that's being put out there. You heard Press Secretary McCamey reference a tweet on July 6th by President Donald Trump. They named teams out of strength, not weakness, but how the Washington Redskins and Cleveland Indians, two fabled sports franchises, look like they are going to be changing their names in order to be politically correct. Indians like Elizabeth Warren must be very angry right now. Of course, you heard me talk about that tweet in a previous podcast episode. And we can expect that we're probably going to see some more tweets coming out from Donald Trump, his followers, and the cult about this. See, this is happening now because of the massive pushback and social movement to remove racist ideology, racist nomenclature, and racist symbols from our society. This pushback was reignited in the wake of George Floyd's murder. We are seeing this whole entire protest, this entire movement fill into so many spaces that have since been next to impossible to get to change. It's been amazing. And to finally see a team like the Washington Redskins, who again, their owner has pushed back on renaming this team so many times, it's not even funny, to finally see them doing it because of the pushback they're receiving is amazing. Now, this doesn't mean we should go giving props to the owner. The owner is only doing this because he could lose title sponsorship over his stadium. That's the only reason he's doing it. I'd love to echo the voice of the Navajo president in saying that it's 100% on the societal pushback, but it's not. It does have to do with money, but it's beautiful that money is doing this. I stand against, money backing or money making change, but this is a time when money is actually making a great change. A capitalist, a guy who has a stake, he relies on this type of title sponsorship to fund his stadium and to help fund his team. He's realizing, shit, I got to do something. This is a beautiful time right now. This is gorgeous for me. And it just happens to be happening in the middle of one of the largest cultural revolutions to happen since the 60s. This is amazing. Now, again, I have to reference, Donald Trump is not going to be okay with this. Donald Trump is going to tweet out disparaging remarks towards the team's owner, towards the team itself, towards Washington State. We had someone encouraging the team to move to Washington, D.C. We are seeing a lot of interesting stuff come out right now. And of course, unfortunately, the person that voiced the interest of having the team come to Washington, D.C. also happened to be a Democrat. So we are going to see this getting spun by the cult and Donald Trump into many ways, a way for him to be able to say, well, they're coming for our history. They're coming for our heritage. They're coming for us. And they're not. I mean, right now they're respecting the dignity of Native Americans who had their land stolen. Right now, being a voice of liberty is a damn beautiful thing, because being a voice of liberty and being an activist and being out there and fighting for these things is finally doing something. And we are seeing it. And I just couldn't be more excited. And I threw this topic together in a very short amount of time. I just wanted to get it out there and talk about it, and ignite, a little bit more of the conversation on this. But we also need to be vigilant. This is going to have a negative consequence, and it's not going to have a negative consequence in the movement that's occurring right now. It's going to have a negative consequence in those that are perceptive to the president's speech. It's going to have a negative consequence to those that listen to the president without thinking. As I discussed in a previous video, cult mentality exists within this administration, and this is going to infect Congress. This is going to infect the House of Representatives, or the Senate and the House of Representatives. This is going to infect all levels of the government that are like falling in lockstep with the president. But it's finally happening, and to see that happening and to be honoring the Native American people, this comes on the heels of South Dakota declaring that a good chunk of its land is actually native tribal land. This is beautiful. Be a voice of liberty. Awaken the voice of liberty. I'm excited right now. This is the most excited I've been, because there is so much occurring. So get out there, make noise, make change. To all the activists out there, see that your voice is actually doing something. The marches you participate in are doing something. When you stand up for what's right, it's doing something. It's finally happening. People on the right side want to scream at us and call us SJWs. They want to scream at us and call us, social justice warriors. Take that and wear it with a badge of pride. My Twitter, right in the description, says proud SJW. It's awesome. Let's keep it going. Be a voice of liberty. Awaken the voice of liberty.